This is the Big O Show. 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 This is the Big O Show.
It's a beautiful Friday. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. Hope everything is well in your world on a Friday, obviously. A lot of things going on. We got plenty of things to talk about, plenty of people to talk to today. Kobe Price is going to stop by around noon. So we'll talk a little bit about the Inter Miami squad, which will take the pitch tonight against Orlando City. It's cool to have a little soccer tonight to watch. Marlins also in action, or two teams that are in action right now. We're going to cover both of those. Jordan McPherson, who's always kind enough to join us on the show. covering the Marlins for the Miami Herald. We'll stop by at 12:30. So we've got an active hour number 2 here on the show. I see the chat board's already active on YouTube, which, of course, I see everybody there chiming in. I'd be remiss if I did not mention our prayers, obviously, go out to everybody involved in Surfside and everything that's going on there. And obviously, the first responders who have been tirelessly working and trying to save, which unfortunately, I think we're up to 159 missing now from 99 to 159. 120 are accounted for, 4 have passed away. Sadly, we know that that number is going to end up changing too, unfortunately. Obviously that goes on. I know this is what this show's about, trying to get away from life and all the things going on, but there's no way of avoiding what's going on in Surfside, and obviously our prayers. And again, to me, it's one of those baffling things that I still can't understand how something like that happens in this country at all. I just really don't understand it. But man, it is heartbreaking. I will say that when you watch the news yesterday and you're watching it throughout the day and into the evening, because obviously it's been nonstop coverage when it comes to that. Anyway, we thank all of you as always for tuning in. Many ways to connect to the show. As you all know, you can reach out to us on our Twitter page at Big O Show. You can reach out on YouTube, which we've already got people loading up on the YouTube channel. If you're watching, remember, we encourage you to please smash the hell out of that like button. It is so important that you smash the like button. It's probably the most important thing you'll do for the show is smash that like button, because that really sends out in the algorithms and all that good stuff, and more people will find the show and all that. And we encourage you, if you can, share the link of the show, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the YouTube feed. Share it with folks out there and tell them about the program so they can join us as a nice, beautiful family here on the show. And we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. So many different ways to reach out to us. Appreciate all of you here on a Friday supporting us like crazy. We see Steve Chapman was the first one in the house. He chimed in at 10:47 because the screen comes up on YouTube before 11 o'clock. I think today we posted it around 10:30, actually, something like that. It was a little earlier than normal. So Steve got in early. Troy Ortiz is in. Herman Cueva is in. Omar Lopez is in. John Santos is in. John Rouse is in the house. Matt Walker, as always. Rosendo Marcos says, good morning, Big O and Radio Show family. May the God blessings flow through you today and touch the lives of everyone you meet. GP Trap is in with a good morning, and he reminds everybody to hit that like button, which is very, very important. Thank you. Call of Duty 1 is in. Greetings from the Jersey Shore. I like it. Gus 1388. I gotta go, by the way, Call of Duty. I visited the Stone Pony, but I have to go to a concert at the Stone Pony. And I have it saved in my favorites of Stone Pony, and just to see the concerts coming up, because already. Let's go up. Uh, John, yes and no. No, because this gives more people more time to buy low if they're smart. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest. I bought a little more steel. And so I bought it not too much, but I bought a little bit more. And so this allows people to accumulate a little bit more. And while it stays at this level, it's consolidating. So it's building a foundation, and so it'll take off. Eventually, it's going to happen because there's billions of dollars right now on on uh, on um, on stable coins, and that those billions are about to go back into the crypto market. It's just these big wigs are just waiting for the right time for the dip, and then they're going to start taking advantage of all of the stuff that we should be taking advantage of. The real sad part, John, the real sad part is that these manipulators forced a lot of regular people to panic and strong, and they sold and lost because it's people that bought Bitcoin at 45,000, at 55,000, at 60,000, at 62,000, and then they went and sold it at 37. You know what I mean? And 32 and stuff like that because they panicked. And so they lost money, and people that bought Ethereum at 3,500, and then they go selling it at 2,500 and 2,000 and 1,900, and they lose because they panic. And those are the people that I feel sorry for because they didn't do their homework to get in it. And then while they're in it, they're not doing their homework and reading up on what's going on and understanding the FUD. And then they end up losing a lot of average people, regular people like you and me and all of you listening. They lost a lot of money. And that's why I tell you that if you're going to get into it, please read up on it. Please understand what's going on. Please read through the BS. So I don't mind that it consolidates for a little bit because I know where it's going to go after that. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried. So it kind of allows some people to maybe pick up some stuff now and take advantage, and buy, Cardano when it's pretty low, and buy Matic and buy VeChain and buy Stellar and things like that. So it's not the worst thing that it's consolidating down at this level. It is allowing people to maybe take advantage of it. I'm hoping. All right, there we go. What we got? Sound in and out again? Seriously? I thought, man, I tested it yesterday. It went perfect. Are you serious? Are we having sound again? No sound? We're back. Sound in and out? Man, I don't know what's going on. Wow. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know. Maybe I wonder if something's going on with the mic cord. That's what I wonder. I wonder. You're back now. Okay. That's not okay. It's okay now. All right. This is weird, man. This is really, really weird. Let me see. I just, well, I mean, it sounds good on the YouTube. I just raised it up and it's fine. I don't know what it is. I apologize. I thought I fixed it yesterday and we did a test and everything and it was just fine. It says for a moment it sounded like Peanuts teacher. But you mean just for a moment or did it do it all throughout? Don't confuse me now because I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't have anybody checking the whole thing. You're good. Okay. All right. All right. If it was just for a moment, don't freak me out. Because that could happen at any time. Now, if it was going in and out and it was doing it several times, that's okay. So Rosendo says it was just a moment. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. There we go. All right. I don't know. I mean, yesterday we fixed it and we ran a test and everything went well, and so I was hoping that it'd be the same. But anyway, just it's not the worst thing, this consolidation period. got to do is steal one of two in Clipperland. If they can steal game 4, then they'll be all right. But I was thinking about this, and here's the question that comes up for me when it comes to Devin Booker, okay? Because we were talking about this just yesterday, about yesterday or Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure which day it was. When you look at Devin Booker and we look at Trae Young, and we were saying they were establishing themselves as superstars in these plays. But we got to add a little caveat here because I was thinking about this. Can Devin Booker be considered a superstar if Patrick Beverley is shutting you down? I mean, talk to me, right? Because nobody shut down Jordan. You don't shut down LeBron James. You don't shut down Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You don't shut down Anthony Davis. You don't shut down superstars. Superstars cannot be shut down. You don't shut down Kevin Durant. That's just the way it is. Now, could a Joe Dumars make it a little harder for Jordan? Yeah. There are guys that can have their moments. Iguodala can have some moments against LeBron, but he's not going to stop LeBron. Nobody's going to. Now, will you have, success against any superstar in one play or two? Yeah. But what Patrick Beverley is doing right now today. Obviously, get one of his teammates involved with a terrific pass, one way or another. So Trae has kind of proven, that superstar quality that, yeah, once in a blue moon, you're going to have some success against any star, but you're not going to stop them. And so what we're watching Patrick Beverley do to Devin Booker, does that make Booker, it's not that he's having less of a series or anything like that, but all of a sudden in these last 2 games where your shooting percentages have gone way down because they put this guy on you who is obviously one of the best one-on-one defenders in the NBA the last 10 years. Okay? Former Miami Heat training camp invitee, by the way. I don't think he ever made it on a roster for the Heat, but he was like on one of their summer league and preseason teams, and then they let him go. And he is, no doubt, he would have been a perfect Heat player because of the defensive disposition that he brings to the table. But I'm thinking about it, and wait a minute. Okay, so are we back? 40 seconds, you were out. Bye, Philippe. You can wait a minute. Now you guys are messing with me here. I don't know what's going on. So were we?
This is the Big O Show. 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 This is the Big O Show.
right, now I will try one more time and see if this mic works, and maybe we can get the audio. Because if it's not this, then there's something going on with the computer or something like that. So give me the test and tell me what the hell's going on here and see if it's working. And if it's working, it says we good now. Bones says Patrick Beverly is just a gnat to Booker, an annoying gnat to Booker. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Are we is it so maybe it is the cable. All right, it says there we go. Everybody's chiming in. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So what I was saying is that with Booker, so Booker over the last couple of nights has struggled with his shot, and they sicked Patrick Beverly on him. Booker was 5 of 21, 1 of 7 from 3-point range. And look, I said it that, Trae Young and Booker were establishing themselves as superstars in this league. But can you be a superstar if you're getting stopped by somebody? Because you didn't, Michael Jordan may have had a little trouble with Joe Dumars, but that was only, he made it harder for Jordan. He didn't stop Jordan. Andre Iguodala has had some success against, LeBron at times, but you don't stop LeBron. You don't stop Kareem. You don't stop superstars. They can have a bad night. And that's where Devin Booker has got to, now he's at the point where he's got to prove that it was a bad night for him. That's what he's got to prove. All right. Oh, I didn't have a good night. This and that, something along those lines. And then he comes back and nails, 35, 40 points tomorrow night. He needs to have that kind of night and bounce back, because if Patrick Beverly becomes his kryptonite, then you're not a superstar. Superstars can't be stopped. And that's what I was mentioning before. Trae Young, they've thrown everything at Trae Young. You can't stop him. He's a freaking water bug, dude. He finds a way to get open, with his handle and his obviously range, which he has no range whatsoever. I mean, the second the man steps into the arena, he's open. You can hit it from anywhere in the damn arena. You know what I mean? So that is the key right now for Devin Booker. He's got to find the juice where he bounces back and plays at a superstar level. Because if he doesn't play at a superstar level, then we can't consider him that. We can consider him an all-star. That's the difference between an all-star and a superstar. And that's why the pressure kind of falls on Booker now in game 4, not to win. He doesn't have to win because his team has to be the better team in order to win. But he definitely has to come out with one hell of a game. Okay? One hell of a game. So let's see if that happens. But this is the test right now for Booker to kind of put that stamp that, yeah, I am a star, and you can't stop me when I put my mind to it. And that's usually what stars do. Okay? Let's see. Can you make the whole podcast as loud as the countdown? It would work it would work in a loud environment, and even at full volume, I have trouble hearing. Really? It's low? All right. I mean, I raised the volume a little bit more there. Hopefully that helps out. Let's see. The same thing happened to Magic Johnson in the 84 finals when the Celtics put Dennis Johnson on him and the Lakers lost the finals. Dennis Johnson covering Magic Johnson? I don't think that happens. Magic could have a bad game, but nobody stops Magic Johnson. I watched that. Nobody was stopping Magic. He can have a bad game. That seems better with the volume. Yes, he's still young and learning on a player on a franchise that stunk for a long time. Oh, no, I mean, Booker's awesome. But, what you have going on right now, it's kind of a little stain on him right now because Beverly is shutting him down. Beverly is frustrating him. Beverly is in his head. So that's an issue for him. That's why I'm saying that he needs to respond in a big-time way. He's got to respond. Okay? All right, everybody says it sounds perfect now. I appreciate it. Don't forget, please hit the hell out of that like button. I mean, absolutely crush that like button. It is very, very important that you do that. So Clippers win 106-92. Um, PG had 27 points on 26 shots, by the way. It's not like he played this incredible game. 3 of 11 from three-point range, had 6 turnovers. I thought, again, I thought Reggie Jackson is one fearless dude, man. He will hit big shot after big shot. I got to give him a lot of credit. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock will be game 4 in LA. We'll see if Phoenix can surprise. If Phoenix can steal this one, they win the series. If not, then we've got ourselves a 3-game series, and we'll see what happens. And, this is going to make Ty Lue look pretty awesome if they come back from this one. And 3 straight series where you're down 2-0 and you come back to win the series, that's pretty freaking amazing. I got to say, I got to give him credit. I never really looked at Ty Lue to be as good as some people have made him out to be. I thought he just benefited from Jordan, but you got to give him some credit right now for some of the things that are going on with the Clippers. And I'll be the first to say, I didn't think much of Ty Lue, to be honest with you. I just thought it was I thought it was just one of those things that it was more LeBron hype than anything else. But it looks like he's proven to be a pretty damn good coach overall. No Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers are still finding ways to survive in these playoffs. And if they are able to tie the Suns tomorrow night, it's one hell of an accomplishment there as you make it a 3-game set. So that'll be a lot of fun. Tonight, we got the Hawks and the Bucks, and the Hawks are trying to make it 2-0 in Milwaukee, by the way. Remember, Milwaukee has the home court advantage in this one. 8:30 tonight. Game 3 will be on Sunday on TNT, and that'll be in the ATL when they get back for Game 3. And this is must win for the Bucks, right? I mean, they always say that the series doesn't start until the home team loses a game. Home team lost a game already, so we got ourselves a series. And tonight, must win for Milwaukee. I mean, there's no other way to phrase it. You got to win if you're Milwaukee tonight. There's you don't get it done tonight, and your series is pretty much over. Because if you're going to lose both at home, I don't know how you end up winning, 4 of the next 5, and 3 of them are away from your home. That's going to be pretty tough in order to do that. You know what I mean? So I know he was taunted Tragic Johnson, but again, that was a bad run. You didn't stop him throughout his entire career. Again, that's what I'm saying. It could be a bad game. It could be a bad couple games, but Magic Johnson proved throughout his career that you weren't going to stop him. He was going to be a monster. And he had already proven before that by playing center as a rookie. So once Magic came out in his rookie year, had to play center and got 40 and 20, there's nothing else to say. You know what I mean? So the comparisons don't make any sense. You can't compare Magic Johnson to Devin Booker. Magic Johnson was a winner from college all the way through. You know what I mean? He was that guy. So he could have a bad series or a bad game. That doesn't. Magic Johnson was a superstar pretty much from the get-go. Devin Booker has had to learn how to become a superstar. Huge difference, dude. Huge difference. Terrible example. I mean, I kind of wanted to let it lie, but if you're going to keep at it, then, we'll come out and state the truth already at this point. I mean, when you're a rookie and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goes out and you go in and play center and get 40 and 20, game over, bro. Game over. You know what I mean? So please, let's not compare Magic Johnson to Devin Booker, man. Come on. Magic's at a completely different level than almost every player that's played this game, period. Only guys like Michael Jordan and LeBron James are in his category. There's very few people that are in his category, man. You know what I'm saying? Who wins tonight, Islanders or Lightning? I'm going to go Lightning, man. I'm going to go with the lazy pick. I'm going to go with the team that's been, established. I know Mike No Go Zones is not going to like me saying that, but I got to pick the Lightning. Now for my Go Zones, I hope the Islanders win. I don't really care about which one wins, but if you got to ask me, I'll do it. The kid on the Clippers, man, I think his name is yes, is really making a name for himself. He has big shots, big shots. I'm not comparing, but in the finals, people will judge you very harshly. Rosendo, he had already won in the finals. He'd already did something nobody thought he could do at that moment when he stepped in and played center. He already had his superstar moment where he established himself and he said, "I'm here and I'm the man, whether you like it or not." Magic had already done that. You know what I mean? It's not the example of what Booker's going through right now is nothing compared to Magic Johnson. Nothing. Magic was a bad moment, period. He was already an etched superstar. This kid, these are the moments he's got to overcome right now. Yeah, Magic Johnson changed the point guard. Of course. GP Trap saying, go Isles. Isles. I guess I got to root for the Isles now. I know I picked the Lightning, but it looks like we got more people on the show going for, because I don't really care which one wins. But since I care more about you guys than either one of those two teams, I guess with Mike No Go Zones and now GP Trap wanting Islanders, then I'm rooting for the Islanders tonight. They did have a hell of a comeback the other night. That was a fun watch at the end of that game, man. That was pretty awesome. And to capitalize in overtime, that was absolutely fantastic. Remember, you can reach out to us on the YouTube channel. A little super chat is the other way you can get in on the show. On Twitter also is another way you can reach out to us. So plenty of ways to connect with us here on the program. Always appreciate all of you out there for supporting the show. Let's see, what else do we have going on the show? I saw this story on Pro Football Talk, and Aaron Rodgers could end up opting out if he wants to and not play this season. And there's a part of me that says this guy is going to go through this, which is really weird, right? Because you're in the twilight of your career. You probably only have a few years left, and you're going to let one of the years go by the wayside. And it's so strange the way things have turned out with Rodgers and the Packers. But according to the story, Rodgers can actually get paid $18.3 million if he opts out in the next week. Now, he has to opt out in the next week in order to cash in. And so this is how the story goes. Okay. Let's see. Here it goes. And it says, regardless, opt out, higher risk, such plan. All right. Aaron Rodgers, by next Friday, July 2nd, he can pull the plug on the 2021 season. It would be a permanent and irreparable decision, but he can do it. The benefit doing so comes from the fact that he would not forfeit $11.5 million in unearned signing bonus for the 2021 season if he opts out. Also, he presumably would still receive the payments on the $6.8 million roster bonus that he earned in March, and that is due to be paid out on a weekly installment during the season. The $18.3 million that he'll keep by opting out, if he doesn't opt out but holds out, he loses that $18.3 million and would be fined roughly $2 million on top of it for skipping training camp. I wonder if behind the scenes, his agent and him have already, they know this, and they've called the Packers and say, hey, find a deal or we're opting out. I don't know if he's willing to do that. If he does within the next week, so you either take the risk of losing the money and then hoping that they trade you, that the Denver Broncos or somebody else, would step up and trade for you when it's all said and done. And again, I don't know if that's going to happen, but this is a guy that doesn't talk to his family. So I'm just this is a guy that would actually sit. He's kind of an awkward dude. He's kind of a he's doesn't look like he's the average guy, let's put it that way. There's some quirkiness to him, in other words, that I think he would do something like this. Hey, I told you guys I'm not playing for you. All right, here you go. Boom, and I'm out. And he gets his 18.3 million. He screws the Packers over because now they can't move him this year. They've got to wait till next year. And let me tell you something. If Jordan Love goes out there and lays an egg and looks completely lost, that is going to make them look like just absolute buffoons. Now, it will put Aaron in a difficult position, I think, with Packer fans too at times. I think there's going to be part of Packer Nation that is that is going to turn on him. Let's put it that way. I think a lot of them will blame the front office and everything going on. And listen, if you're a Packers fan, it's like, well, wait a minute, dude. We have to have this bitter ass ending with all of our quarterbacks because we went through all this hell with Brett Favre, whether he was retiring or staying, and it ended up becoming this whole battle and we ended up seeing him in a Vikings uniform. And for the Packers, it was like when we watched Jason Taylor in a Jets uniform. It's like, and it wasn't Taylor's fault. It was all Parcells and the Dolphins that forced that. Taylor had to go get work, so he got work at Washington, and then ended up, with the Jets. I can't blame the man for wanting to still play. I've never blamed Jason for any of that stuff. And so if you're a Packers fan and you're a long-term Packers fan and you remember what happened with Favre, now you're seeing what's happening here, and it's two different regimes too. With all this, it's not like it's the same leadership group that had the issues with Favre that are now having with Rodgers. So as a Packers fan, you're kind of frustrated, like, man, two of your best players in the history of your franchise, that somehow or another they've been bitter endings. It's been ugly. You know what I mean? And that's the interesting dynamic out of all of this. How does this end up for Aaron Rodgers? And the end game, okay, you want to get traded, but if you opt out in the next week, that means you've opted out of the 2021 season. So now you've lost a year on your career. So now you will not get a chance to get traded to any team for the 2021 season. So now you've given up a season and now you won't play till the following year. That's that puts you in a really, really difficult spot if you're Aaron Rodgers to give up a year so late in your career. But then again, what's more important to you? Now, if the money's not that important for you and you got plenty of money in the bank and you're making money with endorsements still, then you take this chance. And eventually you'll get traded and fines and all that stuff will be covered by somebody, not you. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work out, but the weird thing is I would not be surprised if he does hold out. I would not be surprised even if he does opt out this in the next week because he's kind of an odd bird. He's the kind of guy that would actually do something like this. And and this is why I was telling you earlier in the week that the one bittersweet thing about I can't wait for this Dolphin season to start is that unfortunately it's going to, begin with, issues with one player in X. That's the only negative out of all this thing. And if you're the Packers, like, man, you've had some, a couple pretty good years right now with him. He had an MVP season last year. You get to a conference final, and now, and that means your team's pretty damn close. And the guy that makes all the difference in the world is about to opt out. I mean, that's got to be incredibly frustrating for a Packers fan. It's just that you have to deal with these other things, and you can't just enjoy the game and enjoy the team. And it's like us for our Dolphins. I can't wait for Tua to take the field. I can't wait for the Dolphins season. But I do know now that we've got this X problem coming up. You know what I mean? And that's the part that absolutely sucks about it, that you have to deal with some of this, the business side of it that kind of gets in the way from the fun stuff of watching your favorite team take the field and hopefully, have an exciting season. Let's see. What do we have here? Just the Magic stuff continues. People will blame anyone. That's people. A real fan knows better and should know better. GP Trap says, just trade him. Why poison your locker room? No, but the question is, GP, is he the poison or is it the front office? Is it Gutenkust? Because obviously he has a problem with Gutenkust. So if he feels the GM is the problem, I mean, think about that. So if he's willing to alienate his best player, what does that mean for everybody else? Now, maybe you're right. Maybe Aaron is the complete problem here, and he is the cancer out of all of it. But that's kind of the unknown when it comes to all of this. Let's see. That's why the Dolphins will probably decide to trade X, Herman says. Yeah. Yeah. Too extreme for Rodgers. This is a really bad look to go about things this way, whether he cares or not. Yeah, it doesn't end up being a good look. But again, he'll end up looking like the mercenary because there'll be a team that'll want to trade for him because that will change their entire outlook because he's that kind of player that just completely changes the outlook of your team. You all of a sudden become a contender once you add Aaron Rodgers. So no matter what the bad look is, there are going to be a few teams lined up to trade for him because they know he's the difference between them actually having a shot at a title and no shot at a title. I mean, that's why Denver's got a good enough defense. If their running game and their receivers are good enough in their line, then you get Rodgers and you're a Super Bowl contender if you're the Denver Broncos. That's why it's kind of like the whole Peyton Manning move for them. They had a really good team. They added Peyton Manning. They were a Super Bowl contender. And you add Aaron Rodgers, they don't care about what happened in Green Bay at all because Aaron Rodgers is going to come to your job. Remember, he's not asking for more money. It's not like X. He just doesn't like the people in Green Bay. He doesn't like Gutenkust. He doesn't like the guy running the team. He doesn't want to play for that guy. This isn't a money thing. This isn't a contract issue. This isn't any of that stuff. This is a guy that literally hates the person that he has to work for. And so he doesn't want to play for that person. So if you give him a different environment, he gets rejuvenated because he doesn't have to deal with that guy again. So it's a different scenario. While you might be right, GP, that he might be cancerous, on the flip side, whoever's trading for him is going to get a motivated player to kind of, put the Green Bay stuff in the past and be motivated to win a title. So if you're the team that acquires him, you're getting, not only are you getting a Hall of Fame player, you're getting a motivated Hall of Fame player. So you end up winning out of the whole thing. You're going to give up the world to get him, but this is how you have a shot at a title. Rosendo says you can't trade X unless Noah balls out. X is stud player when he's healthy, but if Noah plays at all, that changes everything. Yeah, but Rosendo, you may not have time to find that out. You can't unless you wait to the trading deadline. So then halfway through the season has gone by and you'll have a feel for where Noah is at. But if you're going to trade him now in the preseason at some point, you won't ever find out about Noah until you have to play him and you have no choice. And he needs to grow up right away and produce right away. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be kind of the trick behind all of that. Players rarely fully commit to holding out, not even for CBA negotiations. I know. But this is the one guy that, I mean, seriously, would you, Matt, you sent that in. Would you really be surprised if Aaron Rodgers holds out? I get what you're saying about a lot of players, but that dude, that's the one dude that I just wouldn't put it past him. I just wouldn't put it past him. What you're saying normally is 1,000%. But it's one of those deals. So all right. So it looks like no more complaints now. It looks like I guess it was I guess it was the mic cable. Because what I did was I switched mics. Normally the mic that Bill would use is this one. And so I just moved it over and disconnected the other one. And so I guess everything is kosher now, which is good. Sad situation in Green Bay. Yeah. 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 Uh, Again, we'll see if he ends up holding out, but he is the one dude that would hold out. That's the one dude that I would not put it past him. Marlins, by the way, lost again. They lost to the Nationals 7-3. They dropped to 12 games under 500 at 31-43. When we have Jordan on at 12:30, I've got an interesting question for him that I want to pose, and I want to see what he thinks about it when we get to him. Chisholm, by the way, did hit his 9th home run of the year. He got a 3-run shot in the 8th inning. Tonight they will start a set. Tonight they will continue their set with the Nationals. John Lester and Pablo Lopez will be towing the slab tonight. I actually have Lester. I streamed him on my fantasy baseball team because, the Marlins struggle a little bit there with the offense. So I figured, all right, I need some pitching. I need some help this week. I gotta adjust because I'm hurting this week. So let me make a move. And I added John Lester. So if you see John Lester ball out, well, then, I'm having some success. If the Marlins rack it up and score 10 runs, well, then I'll be hurting at the end of the night with that one. I'll be happy for the Marlins, unhappy for my fantasy team. Rosendo says, smash that like button. That's right, baby. Smash that like button. Yes. Yes. Yep. Bill's cable. That's it. That's what fixed it. Somebody put. I disagree. You trade X, get the best value you can get. We've waited too long to get going in this direction. We're going for a player to start crap over a raise in a contract that he recently signed. I'm with you there to extreme. I've been kind of and I've been mentioning this whole X thing for a while, right? Didn't I tell you guys down the line that the next place where they can get draft picks is going to be X? And the drafting of Noah kind of tells you that. And I love the foresight of this team. Whether they want to keep Gesicki or not, or they have contract issues with Gesicki, later on this year or in the offseason, and Gesicki's asking for too much. Well, we got your replacement. Move on. Or you keep Gesicki and you have a 2 tight end attack. If you can keep them at a decent price. I think that's what they're going to do. I think they want both tight ends. But, okay, so you sign X to that deal, and then a year later you draft another cornerback when you're signing Byron Jones. And you're kind of scratching your head like, whoa, why are you doing this? Well, you can never really have enough corners, which is very true in this league, in a passing league. But on the flip side, you kind of know what you're dealing with X. And so there you go. And he's had several knee issues, so you've got to be prepared. I love the way that this team is very proactive and they're actually constantly planning on what's going on or what's going to happen, down the line. I think that part of it is just absolutely awesome. And it kind of shows a different spot for this team where they're at, because in years past, this team was never that smart to plan ahead and be prepared for problems that may arise down the line. And you're watching in 2 different instances here, they're prepared, dude. Okay, if we sign Gesicki, great. We got 2 tight ends we can attack teams with. The kid is under a rookie contract for a couple more years. We're good. Oh, Gesicki's asking for too much money. You know what? We're going to pass. We got Hunter. We'll go draft another kid, and we'll build the 2 tight end attack this way, and we'll control both players because we'll still have Hunter under his rookie deal. He's entering his 2nd year, because that's what will happen in 2022. You draft another kid, and you have your 2 tight end attack. So they're prepared either way. They will have a 2 tight end attack this year, and they can have a 2 tight end attack next year by drafting another one. You're prepared. I mean, I just love it. And I'm a big fan of having a 2 tight end attack. Huge fan of it. I think it creates all kinds of mismatches. But I love the foresight from this team, whether it's the X situation or the Gesicki situation. And it's nice to know that right from the second that they took over, they are thinking of the now and the future. Because 3-4 years from now, when your team is already loaded, you're going to have those problems coming up, and they're going to be it's nice to know now that down the line they're going to be planning for other things like that going on. Really, really smart management. Weapons X United chiming in with the first super chat of the day. Thank you, Weapons X United. Great show as always, Big O. You're the godfather of Miami Talk Radio. Well, thank you. That's a little too kind, my man, but I appreciate you very, very much. Let's see. Hard to replace someone, a CB that had 10 interceptions. He still has a contract to honor. Exactly. That's my problem with the whole X situation. You just signed this deal, dude, and you didn't give any money back 2 years ago when you were suspended and when you were injured. Did he get suspended finally? I don't think he got suspended, but he was out with the knee injury and dealing with the domestic violence issue. So you were embarrassing yourself and the team with the domestic violence issue. You had a knee injury, and did you give the money back? No. So, I just don't have a lot of sympathy for that. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, you've made your commitment as the Dolphins. You paid the money. And so now you're going to give more money, and you don't know where that. And let me tell you, who's to say that X knows where his knee stands? And maybe he's trying to get as much money as possible because you don't know when that knee's going to give. I love the fans that sometimes, well, he got 10 interceptions. You got to pay him. Okay, what about the knee injuries? And then if you end up paying him and he has another knee injury that puts him out for a year or two, or it's the next knee injury that finally starts the decline of his play, the same person that said pay him then starts ripping the team for paying him because of that knee. And this is something that they have to be well aware of right now if you're the Dolphins. And if I'm going to pay X, am I sure he's going to be able to play most of this contract? Because that's what you need. You don't need him to play the entire contract, but you probably need them to play about 75% of the contract. So that way the cap hit doesn't belong to, doesn't become too big. And that's the other thing with X. You're into the second year of this deal. The cap hits become less and less as the years go on. If you now have to give them more money and guarantee more money, now those numbers go back up again. And it puts you in a difficult situation. And if you're the Dolphins, you've got to manage the cap, you've got to manage the talent, you've got to plan for the now, and you've got to plan for the future. And all of these things get affected by this decision. And again, we've talked about this before. You open up Pandora's box by redoing this deal. I saw Drew Rosenhaus on Sunday on Channel 7 for his regular spot, and he was asked about, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm with X and his agent, and he needs to get paid." Of course he's with, because he wants that flexibility too. So if his player who he just signed, Jerome Baker, a year from now, Jerome Baker goes out and has 150 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 10 sacks. Oh, you know what? I need to rework my deal like you reworked X's. I outplayed my contract. You did it for X, you got to do it for me. That becomes a problem. And that's why you had a Drew Rosenhaus say that on Channel 7 on Sunday, because he has his own agenda. And as a fan, I want what's best for the team. Listen, I saw plenty of cap-strapped Dolphin teams. I saw them make all kinds of fiscal mistakes in the past. These guys have been pretty fiscally responsible overall. They haven't put out contracts that can cripple them like a Mike Wallace and an Ndamukong Suh. Don't start now. That's what I would say. This is all BS with X. Honor the damn contract. Yeah, well, that's not the reality, my man. Players should not have to give money back for injuries. It was also domestic violence, too. If football, it happens. I'm not saying give X a new deal, but teams should not ask for injury-related reimbursement. I'm also talking about domestic violence, too. Okay? We start out 7-0, X will shut up. Yeah. Yeah. If they start playing really well and X is holding out, yeah, it'll be a bad look for him. Now, remember, they went and won 10 games without Minkah, right? Without Laramie Tunsil. The year they won 5 games 2 years ago, X was out the whole year. The best player on their team, and they got better in the secondary. They got better in the defense without him. That whole year. None of us can argue that. They were a better team by the end of the year, and they forced New England to play in the wild card round by winning in week 17 on the road in New England without X. So I'm just saying it's a team game, and I am totally with the Dolphins on this one. And if they don't want to pay him, I think it's the right move. I would not pay him after giving him a contract just 2 years ago. I would not pay him. I would have to stay away from it. Just guarantee more of what he's owed. I don't see Jones on the roster after this season. I keep X over Jones every day and twice on Sundays. Sean, I disagree with you. I think Jones will be here. I think X won't. Jones has no injuries. X has been, his knee's been scoped like 5 times already. Do you think that those knees are like, they're even close to 100%? Every time they go in there, they're scooping something out. And it's something you usually need to, keep that knee working. I disagree with you, my man. X is a time bomb, is the way you have to look at it. Great player, but he's a time bomb. So that's where it changes. Let's see. I was not talking about domestic violence. I was responding to you saying, well, you missed all the games in 2009, pay the team the money back. That's what I disagree with. Yeah, but I'm saying it was injury and domestic violence issues. I mean, you can't ask for more money when you play well. You're paid to play well. But so the team can't ask for the money back when you don't show up? I mean, it goes both ways. You signed a contract. You have no business asking for more money. Honor your contract. So it goes both ways. So if you're willing to ask more money when you're already under contract and they already paid you, so then the team can ask for their money back when you don't show up. I mean, again, you're giving one person the right that they don't deserve because X doesn't deserve more money. He signed his contract already. He put his name on that contract. He agreed to that deal with his agent. I don't know. I disagree with you on that one. I think if you can ask for more money when you're already under contract and you're already being paid and you got 4 years left on your contract, well, then teams can ask for the money back when you don't show up, when you get injured, when you have a domestic violence issue, when you embarrass the team. Goes both ways. Yeah, well, Byron Jones doesn't have injuries too. That's the thing. You can go with the team player stuff, but he doesn't have the injury history. Diane Mayer says, "Hi, Big O. Glad to see your show again. We usually watch later on. Thanks for the content. Appreciate it, Diane. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Very kind of all of you out there. We're going to be joined by Kobe Price any second now. We'll have a little fun with Kobe, and we'll talk a little Inter Miami football. We'll get into that as they're in action tonight, 8:00, Five Pink Stadium, DC United. So we'll get all the info from Kobe in just a second, and we'll get to talk to him and have a little fun. Here we go. Let's have a little fun. Let's bring him aboard. Kobe Price, South Florida Sun Sentinel, Inter Miami writer. Kobe, how you doing, my friend? Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Can you?
There we go. Okay, now we got you.
Perfect. How you doing, Big O? What's up?
What's up, baby? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm solid. Glad to see you back with your show.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. We had to. I was getting bored, so I had to get this thing going again, and missed actually doing this show more than anything else.
Right.
And the response has been awesome. So I am blessed to be able to do this every single day, my man. Tonight we got a little soccer, and you got a little drama. You've been able to cover a lot of drama in the on the team this year so far. Talk to us a little bit about what won't be on the pitch tonight.
First, you're talking about the players. There's going to be seems like there's going to be several players who will not be on the pitch. Obviously, you got Ryan Shawcross and Gregory. They'll be suspended for tonight's match. Ryan Shawcross for getting the straight red in the 84th minute against DC United. Gregory for getting the second yellow card, I believe in the 56th minute. So those two guys are suspended. Gonzalo Higuain and Rodolfo Pizarro came into tonight's match questionable. Seems like they may be able to get into the lineup. Rodolfo Pizarro last night posted something on his IG story, something promoting the matchup, and with the caption, "Finally." I could be wrong, but this feels like the first time he's posted something like that since, I think, the FC Cincinnati game, or maybe a matchup before that against Atlanta United. So that's encouraging. I haven't heard word about either of their status, but they at least seemed Phil Neville didn't rule it out completely when we spoke with him on Tuesday. He did say they had some box to tick, but he didn't rule out them playing tonight. So they could be in the lineup. They might not be. If they are, I doubt they would start. They would probably be, especially Pizarro. He's been out for so long. Gonzalo Higuain, he hasn't played in a while. They've come off this long international break. And obviously Robbie Robinson and Sammy Guederi, they won't be out there tonight because of their injuries.
You talk about the team right now. What have you been able to pick up on the morale side? Because obviously the struggles and not picking up a lot of wins, and then throughout the year we've kind of seen lulls in their play, and sometimes when we talk about like they need to have that the right attitude and all those kind of things, that's kind of reared its ugly head a couple times this year.
It has. And speaking with Blaise Matuidi earlier in the week, I asked him, someone else asked him about, scoring goals because they haven't scored in 3 matches. And I think he very much said, sometimes it's just a confidence thing. When you don't see that ball going to the back of the net, when you go 3 straight matches without winning, when you go through these struggles, your confidence can get shaken. I think we saw that last year, through their struggles. Mm-hmm. And I think this year, you can see a little bit of confidence waning. It's not to say they're not trying to be together or they're not trying their best to play with one another, but there is, I think, a confidence factor that may be waning here and there just because they're not getting the results they want.
Yeah, it's been a rough go right now, and I kind of feel sorry for Neville because he inherited a lot of this stuff, and so it's hard for him to try to fix it. And in a way, we're starting to see a lot of the things we saw last year, where he's changing lineups, changing it in the middle of a game when he had the back 3 and he went to 4 right away after they scored. And it seems like he's now kind of falling into that rut that he doesn't know what to do with this group and find a way to gel, because maybe this is a group that doesn't gel together, that the pieces just don't fit. And look at the midfield. You'll never get Higuain to play at the level that everybody wants him to play until you have a midfielder that can actually set him up. And they don't have that guy to really set them up.
Yeah, and it's funny, he's very much in a similar situation that Diego Alonso was in, or that we saw from Diego Alonso last year. Just because you're looking at him like, I could tell a lot of people question, like, what are you doing, Diego? What's going on? And maybe a lot of that criticism was unfair because now because we're on our second coach in 2 years, we're very much just zoning in on maybe this roster just wasn't built the best way. And I think there was a acknowledgement of that last year, but it was also, but Diego should have done better. I think this year, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because of the second coach. Maybe they're people like Phil a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe it's the David Beckham factor, knowing Phil's his friend. I don't know. But there has been a little bit more of a, wait a second, this roster, like we're going on the second head coach. The roster, I mean, everybody should be better, right? Blaze in the second year, Gonzalo in the second year. All these players that have returned are on their second year with the team. You added some veterans like Jovan Jones, Kelvin Leardom, Greg Orty, Ryan Shawcross. Why haven't things turned around? Why are we still like having to tinker? And I think it's showing that this is harder than I think anyone really expected. And it's not just harder because obviously inaugural season, but there was flaws in the roster construction. I think I spoke on this a while ago. Some of that might have to do with there being multiple visions, so many hands in this construction, to the point where you have like 3 or 4 different visions. You have the Paul McDonough vision. You have the Diego Alonso vision. You have the Chris Henderson vision. You have the Phil Neville vision. Maybe you can say that, Diego and Paul and then Chris and Phil, but they obviously come from different places. Not just like philosophically from soccer, if you don't say that, but just different parts of the world. So there's going to be some kind of time I think is going to be needed in terms of getting that vision, not just from a philosophical standpoint, but just from like hey, this is the players that I want, the players that we need. It might not be this year, but this is what you have for this year. So Phil has to figure out, all right, how can I maximize this team this year? Especially since he said they're probably not going to add any guys over the summer.
Yeah. I don't see them. I don't know how Phil answers this. I don't know how he makes this gel. Like I told you, you don't have a midfielder that can set people up. Your defense is incredibly inconsistent. Plus, it gets in trouble constantly with cards. And your goaltending is, average on its best day. McCarthy's a nice backup, but he's really not a legitimate starter. So you start to look at the construction. And look, what you talked about just a minute ago, well, you have Paul building the team without a coach. And then the coach joins him, and then the coach starts telling you who he likes and who he doesn't like, and you start trading players mid-season. And then in comes the new guys, and they add a couple of guys to this mix. But the problem is, and I almost feel like it's what I said about the Dolphins for many, many years, dude, okay? I use this term. It's called an organizational enema. And finally, Chris Grier takes over, and he has the balls to do an organizational enema, and he cleans everything out. And you see how starting from anew allowed them to build it up actually quickly and faster than they probably would have had to do it the other way, where they were playing human Jenga all the time. And that's kind of what you've done from season 1 to season 2 of your Inter. You've kind of played human Jenga. You've kept some pieces and you've put some others, and now you're stuck in some contract situations with Higuain and Pizarro now, all of this. And so I just think that the way they've constructed it the first 2 years is something that now is, and then the fines and the penalties, I'm afraid, Kobe, this is now going to set you back for the next 2 years.
And if I may jump on top of this, because I'm sure you want to talk about tonight's matchup, obviously a big derby. But I want to add, last year, Will Trapp, maybe it was the beginning of this year, January. I forget when it was, December, January. He used the phrase, last season's team was a collection of individuals. I think that's how he said it. I could be paraphrasing, but he said something along those lines. Yes. It very much feels the same this year. It's not to say they aren't a talented group, because they are. They have the talent. They say all the time, they have the quality. I even think they showed in the DC game, despite losing, they're putting in the effort as well. But sometimes you can have all those things, but if you do not have the chemistry, if you do not gel well, you're not gonna get to where you want to be. And like you said, this is the issue, especially with signing these guys. I mean, biggest compensation in the MLS, largest compensation MLS for a club. That's what Miami has. you have the sanctions, you lose several $1 million in allocation money, or a couple $1 million in allocation money for the next couple of years. It's going to be hard. And yeah, just going to leave it at that. Obviously, that's very macro level, my Inter Miami stuff, but it shows on a consistent basis that, the macro stuff, you can say it's macro, you say it's micro, it matters. And it shows consistently on a micro game-to-game basis, because that's what we see. We don't see the practice all the time. We see me 15, 20 minutes, but in the games, it very much shows itself.
By the way, you can follow Kobe on Twitter at Kobe_Price. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, covering Inter Miami on a daily basis. Hey, I don't know all the rules because their salary rules are so funky. With Pizarro, I don't know if you know this either, because, again, the rules are so funky. Can they flat out just get rid of Pizarro and then buy a new DP next year to take his place? Or are they forced to trade him and somebody's got to take his salary? And can they find somebody to take his whole salary? And if they don't take his whole salary and they've got to pay a portion of that salary, does that portion go against the cap? Or because he's a DP, usually it doesn't. So I don't know what the hell the rules are, because they're stuck with Pizarro. I have a hard time seeing anybody trading for him outside of possibly a Mexican team. And I don't know if any Mexican team is going to pay him the salary they're paying him right now. So how does the Pizarro situation end?
Bizarro. I like that. To answer your question, I know that MLS clubs are allowed one off-season buyout. I don't know about in-season. Obviously, they use that one off-season buyout. The reason I know this is because they use it on Pellegrini. So that's why I remember that so well. I don't know about in-season. I feel like, and I'm owning this right now. I could be wrong. I feel like you could buy out a DP if you can agree to it. Like, I feel like you could do that with any player in any league if you can agree to it. But I don't see why Inter Miami would want to do that, just because he's the 6th or 7th highest paid player in MLS. So it's not going to be like he's like making chump change. Like, if you're going to buy him out, it's going to be a significant sum.
Oh yeah.
And so you're going to lose that, and then you have to add on another guy. If you're adding another DP, he's going to make a lot of money. So I don't see that. Phil Neville said it, and I think some of this goes back to, the roster situation they're in. Pizarro's his standing, if you want to call it that. There's another word, I can't find it right now. It's at its lowest right now. If you're going to sell, don't sell low. Let him, he's been hurt for the past month or so, a little over a month. Let him. I understand there's some angst to get Pizarro off the team because he just doesn't perform well. But if you're going to, just don't sell low. Like, let him get some rhythm back. Let him show it. He only had 6-7 games with this team. Obviously, there's last year too, but with a different coach, different system. He looked good earlier on, at least in the first game against the Galaxy. He looked better than he did for most of last year. It's going to be hard to move him. So at this point, I feel like there has to be an acceptance of, there is a chance, but Pizarro is going to be on this team more than likely for the rest of the season, and maybe it'll be something.
I was talking off season. I wasn't. I wasn't talking here midway through the season or anything like that. I expect him to stay through the season, but I would figure in the off season, because George is crazy enough that he would eliminate that salary and go buy another player. He'll spend, bro. Eventually he'll figure this thing out and they'll win. But right now it's kind of a mess. And if you don't get rid of him and you kind of roll this over into next season, you're kind of seeing what this team is right now. You're not going anywhere with this team. Unfortunately, it's like you said, they do have some names, they have some talent, but they have no chemistry whatsoever. Neither coach has been able to figure out a way to get consistency from them. What you get is flashes. Every once in a while, you'll get something nice, a nice play, a nice set, something along those lines. But you never get 90 incredible minutes, and you never get 180 incredible minutes. You don't get 2 great weeks or 3 great weeks from this team. It just doesn't happen. It's all flashes because they can't find chemistry.
Yeah, and for the Pizarro thing, I figured that's what you meant. Just more so, I can tell, at least with the Inter Miami fans, there's some angst to get him out immediately.
Yeah, that's the microwave society.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, look, it's not. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna be definitely say it's definitely not gonna happen, but it's probably not gonna happen. I would bet on him staying at least for the rest of the season. You're right, though. There's flashes. And, even though Federico Higuain, he's the midfielder that can really, open things up and get that chemistry going. But two things. One, a 36-year-old midfielder, you're going to rely on him for the full season? Probably not. And a lot of that is, those are flashes. You can see it, here and there. I think it was the one game where he played, maybe close to a full 90. It was a little, or the second game, it was a little choppy just because it's hard to, and this doesn't say anything about Federico Higuain, still a really good player as we saw. But if he's your only reliable guy that can really open things up in that way, obviously Lewis Morgan's good in the attack, but even he's had an up and down showing so far, at least in the end product. It's hard, and that's the big thing. They're not getting the quality in the final third that they're looking for. Yeah, the defense, it comes and goes, inconsistent. My contention has always been, look, if you're going to let teams attack you in this way, it's going to open up. Like, you can only allow so many opportunities for a team. Like we saw against DC. DC probably should have had more opportunities than they did, but they scored because they just kept going at it. They kept going at it. They kept going at it. And that's something that we've seen over and over again with the Inter Miami team. Teams can just attack pretty much as they want to. And if you can't stop that, or if you don't have the ball enough to at least be like, all right, you guys are going to be attacking us all the time, you're going to allow goals or going to concede goals, even if your defense is above average.
Kobe Price from the South Florida Sun Sentinel joining us here on the program. Make sure you follow him on Twitter like I and many others do at Kobe_Price. Kobe, I haven't been too critical of Neville, but I will say I thought in the last game he screwed up because he brought in Federico and Jones late in that second half, where I would have started them in the second half to try to give them a little bit of a boost, because obviously in the first half you saw it, there was no offense, so you might as well try to make that tweak. So I kind of was critical of him with that switch there. I would have done it a lot earlier. And part two of that, I think you got to stop dreaming that you can play from inside out. I think you got to start going back to the way you were playing last year, from the outside in with Morgan Lewis. I think that's your with Lewis Morgan. With that's to me is your best options right now. If you want to get the offense going, I think you need to play from the outside in. Your thoughts on both those points? Yeah,
you're talking about the late substitutions. It feels like it's 2020 right here. I agree. It was weird to see it. I think some of it, Phil told us before the game, I'm gonna put up my lineup that feels the most dedicated, most committed, really show me things over the break. And I think we kind of saw that with the other Higuain who didn't play, Gonzalo. I know he says the fitness thing, but I feel like there's probably a little more to that.
How's there a fitness issue, dude, when you're off for 3 weeks?
Yeah, Phil said that he had
give me a break, dude. Come on, man. How can there be a fitness issue? Come on.
He said he had a leg injury that took him out of practice, but I feel like, fitness issue, conditioning, whatever you want to call it, feels like there's a stronger point being made of, hey, if you're not showing the full commitment, I'm not saying Gonzalo Higuain isn't fully committed to this team, but if you're not, in the condition needs to be, in the finish you need to be, you're simply not playing, or you're not going to be on.
And by the way, I don't blame him for his frustrations, because he has no help. And when he's supposed to be playing up front, he's up in the middle of the field helping out because he's been more effective as a midfielder than he has been as a forward. You know what I mean? But that's his frustrations, because if he stays at forward, he dies there of old age, because he'll die waiting for somebody to get him the damn ball. So you see him drop back even more to try to get involved a little bit more, because he's trying. I don't blame I really don't blame Higuain for a lot of this stuff. Now, on the conditioning side, that part, I don't know what to tell you there. That one's kind of fishy.
Yeah, we could talk about Gonzalo, that whole situation, for another half hour. But with the Phil Neville side, I thought tactically, I think they were a little bit more prepared. You could see they did make some adjustments. I do think that, the subs could have came in a little earlier. Maybe before they lost Gregory, or maybe shortly after they lost Gregory, because they were down to 10 men at that point. But overall with Phil, I think it was a better game plan on, I guess that was last Saturday, as opposed to what we saw against DC United, I think it was May 29th. He realized, we're getting pressed a lot. We're not navigating through that pressure very easily. Something that I wrote about, I think, during the break. We're sending balls long and wide. We're sending ball long, especially to Brett because he's tall. Sending balls long and wide, and that just seemed like a solid game plan. And that kind of goes back from both the outside in instead of inside out. Because before they were trying to do inside out, and it seems like I think Phil maybe realized, look, we're getting pressed a lot, and that's why not the inside out's not working. So we're going to send the balls wide. We're going to send it to, maybe Breck on the left hand side because he can at least send the header back in, or he has the verticality to fight for the ball, maybe a little bit more than Lewis Morgan does. And then you could see, they weren't trying to play out the back as much against DC. So overall, I thought it was a better game plan. Maybe the personnel, you would like to see different personnel in that DC game instead of what they had out there. But it's from a game planning standpoint, I thought it was better than what we saw beforehand from Phil.
What are you expecting from Daryl DK and the boys, right? Because DK is going to play today, right?
I believe so. He had a big night against San Jose. I believe that was on Tuesday. Yeah, 2 goals in his first start back from loan.
Yeah. He had 9 goals in 19 games for Barnsley.
Yeah.
Think about that setback. I still have hope for Robbie to develop into a good player, but I don't know if he'll develop into what Daryl DK is. That dude's a force, bro. That's another enormous mistake by Paul and the other 3 teams, by the way, because he fell to 5 in that draft, and Miami was at 1. How'd you pass that guy up, dude? Huh?
Miami's at 1 and 3 because they had
Yeah.
Dylan. So I think it was them, Cincinnati, maybe another team, and then Daryl to Orlando. I could be wrong with Cincinnati.
Crazy.
But the good thing for Miami is that it doesn't look like Daryl's going to be in Orlando much longer. So it's not like they have to worry about dealing with him past this year, I would imagine. I would imagine he'd probably get a goal tonight. If you're asking me about the result of the game, I don't think it ends favorably for Inter Miami. I believe they'll end their scoreless drought, but I could see this being like a 3-1 loss, maybe 2-1 loss. But there's going to be some goals, but I don't see Inter Miami picking up any points today.
It's rough waters right now for Inter Miami. Have fun tonight, my friend, at Drive Pink Stadium. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Kobe_Price. Kobe, thank you for taking some time, my man. Enjoy the game.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There you go. Kobe Price, man. Good stuff there. Appreciate him joining us here on the program. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. Thank you to Kobe Price. I personally don't think they'll win tonight. They're just not better than Orlando. Orlando's a much better team. I mean, if we got to call it like we see it here on this show. And right now they're clearly better. And Kobe's right. They won't have to deal with Daryl DK too long because he'll obviously go off to Europe again. But that's the difference between Orlando and Inter Miami. If Inter would have drafted Daryl DK, I don't think George trades him. I think he leaves him here and he lets him grow here to be a star for his team and a way you can sell Inter Miami to Miami fans. I was thinking about this. Let me give you a little sum that I was thinking about that the Inter Miami team actually had a monster break here. You know what it is? Fans did not have to go through the expansion year live at the stadium. And I know it was on TV, but because soccer's not big enough in the general public yet, local MLS soccer, it didn't leave the kind of impression that it could have, which it's a negative one, by the way. It's not a positive one. And now you've got year 2 where you're now being able to allow fans, and tonight you'll have a packed house. But if you have those packed houses on a continual basis and you let them down with losses, they don't come back. That's how South Florida fans are. And so last year, you were lucky that in a way, the pandemic saved your ass as a franchise, because if you had all those packed houses last year and you gave them disappointing soccer, and now you're doing it again in disappointing soccer, the trend is this way for your attendance. And that's a real problem for them. So they're lucky that they got the break out of the 1 year. They've got to find a way for next season to improve the team, because I know how South Florida is, and they will not continue to support if you don't entertain, if you don't win. You don't have to win a championship, but you have. And there's no doubt in my mind George is committed to winning, but unfortunately the decisions that were made by his prior GM just set this team back big time. And so now they've got to overcome this. And like I just told Kobe, I'm afraid that the mistakes you've made here in the first 2 years are going to set you back for another 2 years. That's why the DP thing, they've got to be able to get rid of Pizarro. And if they can flat out get rid of him and go buy another DP and a really good one, then maybe they got a chance at turning things around. Now they've got to go get a DP that can score goals. Okay? Because Pizarro is not good enough, and Matuidi has no business being a DP. None. Zero. He's an 11th man. Okay? You don't sign a defensive midfielder as a DP. Sorry. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You have to sign a forward, an offensive-minded midfielder, but you've got to find people that can score to be your DPs. So that's the one thing that when I see what's going on with this team, they've got to change that part there. But they got a break last year in that sense. So they you want to take advantage of all these crowds that are here. You know what I'm saying? Jordan McPherson is set to join us at the bottom of the hour, so we'll have a little fun with Jordan, and we'll talk a little baseball with Jordan at the bottom of the hour. We thank Kobe Price for joining us. Good stuff by him. Too Extreme goes, "Oh damn, not soccer." He goes, I joke. He goes, "They'll end up like the Marlins, Big O." Yes. Yeah, they'll end up like the Marlins, but they won't, because George is committed to winning. He's going to, I know they made their mistakes and all that, but Moss will figure it out, dude. Moss will figure it out, and they'll win. They just got to, unfortunately, deal with the hell that they're going through right now. Oh, baseball note, just imagine if other major sports had someone like Ohtani, a pitcher who can throw. I mean, Ohtani, what he's doing right now is sick. At first, let me tell you something. I didn't think this thing was going to work out at first, because he kept breaking down. And you think about the wear and tear you've got to put on your body to be a hitter and a pitcher. You're pitching for 6, 7, 8 innings, and then the next day you got to swing a bat, and and one of your arms is already, burnt out from the day before. And it just puts so much wear and tear on your body. I was thinking, wow, why do you guys keep going through this? Because the first couple of years, it was kind of tough for Ohtani. It was hard for him to kind of put it together. He kept breaking down and kept getting injured and more setbacks. And I'm thinking, okay, this thing is crazy. To put the body through that. And somehow or another, now he's doing it at the highest level on both sides, on the mound and at the plate. He is a freak, man. He is an absolute freak. I gotta say that has been incredibly impressive. What Ohtani is doing. Remember, you can reach out to us on the YouTube channel. You can reach out to us on the Super Chat. And of course, the other way is on Twitter at Big O Show. Follow us there. Also, don't forget to smash the hell out of the like button on podcasting, YouTube, whenever you're listening. Smash that like button, subscribe, share the link. All of those things are incredibly important, man, to keep this thing going and to help it grow in a big time way. Let's see. Do I have time? I know Jordan's about to join us here at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk a little baseball with Jordan McPherson. The Marlins are back in action tonight. The Nationals and the Marlins. John Lester is on the mound. Pablo Lopez for the Marlins, a 7-10 first pitch. Jazz Chisholm, by the way, nice job by him getting his 9th home run of the year yesterday. They just got to produce a little bit more for their pitchers. help them out a little bit. I hit the enter button too quickly. Was trying to say that most of the nation doesn't know who the hell Ohtani is, and in any other major sport, they would have him as an all-star. Yeah. I mean, again, the Ohtani thing has been amazing. It's an experiment that I didn't think was going to work out early on, but it is working out beautifully right now, and his body is holding up. And I give him a lot of credit because the wear and tear on a body to play offense and defense, that's incredibly impressive, man. All right, let's talk a little baseball. Marlins are back in action. The man that covers them on a daily basis for the Miami Herald is the one and only Jordan McPherson. Follow him on Twitter like I and many others do at J_McPherson1126. Jordan, good afternoon, sir. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Big O. Good afternoon to you, too. It's great to see you again.
It is great to see you. Well, actually, this is the first time I get to see you, actually, because we always talk on the phone. But now with this whole new thing, we can actually do face-to-face and have the video. I like this format, actually, to be able to do it this way. Jordan, I wanted to ask you a question to start off with a doozy, and I wonder how much you've been able to talk to the players on the side. How are they when it comes to their emotions right now and their confidence? Because, man, the pitchers are pitching their asses off, but the bats aren't supporting them. And I just wonder what kind of frustrations are building up for this young team and how they deal with that into the second half, because it's brilliant to see what's going on the mound with the starting pitching, but it's kind of depressing to see what's going on with the bats. And look, I know that this team is in a developmental stage, but for the team itself, it's got to be frustrating right now that, the offense is not supporting its pitching right now.
Yeah, I mean, if there are frustrations, the team's doing a really good job or the players at least doing a really good job of hiding it. I mean, as you mentioned, the Marlins pitching staff has been incredible, especially their main three, Trevor Rogers, Sandy Alcantara, and Pablo Lopez, all in the top 22 in ERA in all of Major League Baseball among starting pitchers. The fact that you have those three workhorses and where are they now, 11 under 500, it's hard to fathom, and the offense, it's either you're getting 8, 9, 10, 11 runs, which they've gotten a handful of times, or they're getting shut out. There's no middleman of you get 4 runs, which with any of those three guys should equal a win most nights. And it has to be frustrating, but it's also, I think, a credit to having a guy like Miguel Rojas who's trying to keep them level-headed in that clubhouse, which them missing him a road trip ago when they went 1-8 again in that trip with Boston, Toronto, Pittsburgh, and then back to Boston. Them not having him on that road trip just to keep them level-headed in the clubhouse, I think that impacted them a lot. And it's just, if there has to be some sense of frustration, it's just they're not outwardly showing it, or at least not visually showing it as much.
So it really, because I mean, I said this a couple weeks back already, like a month ago I said it. To me, the Marlins are must-see TV because of that pitching. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's a couple guys I love watching Jazz play.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So there's a couple things going on. The dude at first base has had a pretty good year. There's some things that are going on that are positive, but on the offensive side, it's not nearly as much as it is on pitching. And tonight, Pablo is on the mound. This is something, you definitely want to see. And I just kind of feel bad for those guys because they got to go out and stay professional and stay focused and all of that. But deep down inside, they know that they're not getting that run support, and they've got to almost be perfect every single night just to have a shot. It's got to be frustrating. So for them not to even show that emotion, I give them a lot of credit that they're not, openly frustrated, let's just say.
Yeah, and you mentioned having to be perfect. Sandy Alcantara go back to that St. Louis game. 8 shutout innings. He literally carried them and then lost in a 9th inning walk-off single down the third base line, 1-0. So even when they're at their best and they're doing everything right and throwing those shutouts, they're still losing at times. It's right. Definitely, I mean, and as you mentioned, those three are workhorses. Jazz has been a revelation to see. watching some of the other young guys, Jesus Sanchez, since he got called up, he's been mashing the ball. The numbers may not be there, but you're seeing him get the barrel on the ball basically every time he hits it. You're seeing guys like Lewin Diaz in the little bit of time he's doing. Jesus Aguilar has been fun to watch. Adam Duvall, when he's on his hot streaks, is fun to watch. But then again, it's a 7-8 game hot streak for him, followed by a 10-game cold streak. It's just that complete consistent inconsistency with him, where they need to find a way to get him hot and have him stay hot, because the Marlins win as Adam Duvall gets hot. And that's one of the things I've come to figure out. I think they're about 7 or 8 games above 500 when Adam Duvall is on his hot streaks, hitting the home runs, getting the extra base hits. And when he's slumping and hitting in the 100 range, they're just sinking. So
the numbers are never going to balance out, Jordan,
Never.
because the guy that hits barely above the Mendoza line. So he's not going to give you enough of those hot streaks. You know what I'm saying? I know he gets on a roll and he's belting several home runs, but then he gets ice cold. And that's going to be, listen, in the end, the answer is going to be the JJ Bledays of the world, and then eventually something in free agency. And again, I'm not one of those that's been championing for them to spend some money this year. I get it. This still looks like another developmental year. But Jordan, does 2022 look like the season like they've got to open up the checkbook at one point or another and really go out and get, some good players, not try to get just serviceable players that they've brought aboard over the last couple of years?
Yeah, 2022 is the year they're going to have to do something, whether it's free agency, trade. They're going to have to get something out of it. I understand completely why they did what they did this year. This offseason, they were going through they're still figuring out how they're going to respond via COVID. They still didn't have the TV deal in place. They lost that year of development that was going to be that crucial year in the minors, which pushed everything to this year. So, yeah, what they're doing this year is what they were hoping to have accomplished in 2020. So now that they have this year out of it, they're going to have a firm understanding of where some of their guys who are finally getting into the upper levels of the minors, they'll have a good understanding of where they're going to be. I think I'm still pretty confident. The gut feeling is that JJ Bleday is going to be one of their corner outfielders come 2022. They're going to need to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of the outfield because, again, all of the guys who they have out there right now, Corey Dickerson's on the last year of his 2-year deal. Starling Marte, if they don't give him an extension, he's a free agent after this year. Adam Duvall, it's a team option after this year. And then with the rest of the guys, Jesus Aguilar has 1 more year of arbitration, but you still have to figure out what to do between him, Garrett Cooper, Lewin Diaz. You have to figure out what you're doing at second base and shortstop for that matter. If Miguel Rojas, if they do everything with his option for next year, and how you want to handle Jazz Chisholm, who has looked better at second base than he has at shortstop, and he's gotten about equal reps at both spots. And it's going to be, they're going to have to figure out something. They're going to have to spend in some way. And again, whether that's via free agency or via trade and sending out some of their surplus of outfielder or pitching prospects to try to get a big name. But no matter what, something is going to have to be done this offseason to try and make some sort of a splash.
All right, so Jordan, we see the bats, and if the bats continue to struggle here in the next couple months, I would imagine that some of these young guys are going to get called up to at least start getting some opportunities and some ABs at this level. Are we going to see JJ Bleday this year? Who else can we see? Who else do you expect offensively to be joining this club and trying to get a shot at showing their goods?
Yeah, it's an interesting predicament. It really depends on what they do at the trade deadline just because of how stocked and loaded their 40-man roster is. Because you have to remember, guys like JJ Bleday, he's on the 40-man roster. You'll have to cut somebody from the 40-man to do that. Even guys, again, he would be probably of the main guys. I would expect him to have one of the first cracks. Monte Harrison, you would think they would get a chance, but he's been hurt all month. He's been on the minor league IL since the start of June. So they need to figure out what's going on there. And if he gets healthy, I think he'll get a chance just because he's already on the 40-man roster. You would see more. I would think you would see extended ABs from Lewin Diaz because I feel like if they are in the mode of having to sell and become trade and end up trading some of their veterans come next month, you would think that Jesus Aguilar would be one of the first guys to go. Starling Marte would be one of the guys to go. Dickerson's on the IL with a foot contusion. He's in a boot for at least the next 3 weeks. So he's more than likely going to be staying with the club until the end of the year. His trade value is basically non-existent at this point. What they do with Adam Duvall would also be interesting because, again, as inconsistent as he is, he still gives you the power that almost no one else in the lineup is giving.
Yeah.
So, and at least if you trade Marte and you don't have Dickerson, at least having Duvall, having one veteran guy out there will at least give them some sense of comfort having a veteran to pair with two younger guys. But in terms of the young guys, I mean, they're going to give Brinson another chance. They're going to give, if Monte's healthy, he's going to get his first chance this year. And if they're at the point of no return, I think they let JJ Bleday loose toward the end of the year. Again, remember, he's only been through 2 months of AA ball. They don't want to rush him up too early and then see something happen where he just struggles right out of the gate and then they lose the mental side of him, which has happened with a lot of their top prospects in past regimes where they bring guys up because they have to bring them up and then there's nothing to see from them afterwards. And they want to make sure that the timing is right when they bring them up. So it'll be interesting to follow what happens over this next month. It's particularly what happens up until the All-Star break, because outside of a 3-game set with the Dodgers, everything they have left is against divisional opponents before the All-Star break. If they can have a solid run with these last 2 with the Nationals, their road trip with Philly and Atlanta, and then another 4-game set with Atlanta, they could theoretically still be in the hunt going into the All-Star break because of just how close the division still is.
Jordan McPherson, of course, from the Miami Herald, joining us, Marlins beat writer. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at J_McPherson1126. All right, we talked when we started this interview. We talked about those 3 studs at the top of the rotation. The 4th stud, who's considered maybe one of the top studs, in Sixto Sanchez. He's been dealing with injuries all season so far. Had a little bit of a setback also in the minors. What's the latest with Sixto? When do we get to see that beast on the mound for the Marlins?
Well, if you have any intel on when we're going to see him, I would gladly take it. Because as of right now, he's still throwing on flat ground from his latest setback with his shoulder. It started on opening day. He threw a sim game at the alternate training site, felt some discomfort. It was shoulder inflammation. They shut him down for a few weeks. He finally got back on the mound, threw a couple bullpen sessions, and then had a setback and basically was back to square one. The gut feeling is we're not going to see him until I would think August is going to be the earliest we see him if everything goes right, which, as we have seen since the start of spring training, when he had a couple setbacks that were out of his own control, a visa issue, and then a false positive or a contact tracing issue with COVID, things just haven't gone his way this year since February. If everything goes right, I think we could see him at some point in August. But I feel like we have a better chance of seeing of the other studs down there. I think we have a better chance of seeing Edward Cabrera than we do Sixto Sanchez. Edward's throwing in minor league games. He just threw a game in AA last night, threw six scoreless innings, struck out 9, gave up 3 hits, all singles. His command looked good. He's up to close. I think he's up to about 70-some pitches. My gut says he'll have probably one more start in AA. They'll move him up to AAA after that. And if he looks good after a couple starts in AAA, especially knowing that the Marlins are still in that rotating move of guys in the 4th and 5th spots of the rotation, I think post-All-Star game, you could see Edward Cabrera up in the big leagues.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. All right, Jordan, before I let you go, one more thing. Now you've been covering the team for a couple of years now, covering this new regime now also for a couple of years. I've been trying to figure out the one of 2 directions that they're going in. And I want to know if by now you have a better feeling, because we really don't know yet. Okay, there are 3 ways a baseball team can be constructed. The number 1 way is the way, the Dodgers can do it, and certain teams can just spend and spend and spend. And you and I know they're never going to do what the Cubs and not even the Yankees actually do that anymore. But, Boston, certain teams can spend a lot. If the new Yankees leadership wanted to spend like the old man, we know they can, but they don't. But anyway, whatever, that echelon, we know that's not them. Then that next echelon is kind of like I guess a Mariners, Atlanta Braves type of team that you got to depend on your drafting and developing, and you can keep a few players, but you're not going to be able to keep like some of these other teams like the Dodgers that can spend a whole boatload of money and all that. Or you're going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, of a few years back where you drafted everybody, developed it, and you caught lightning in a bottle, a lot like the Marlins in 03, that after Dombrowski made all those trades, he left them a base to win a title, and all they had to do was go get a Pudge and a Redmond and, an Urbina, and boom, you ended up getting a title out of it. Which team are they going to be? Are they going to be team B or team C? And B is the one that is partially can keep some guys and development, and C is what we saw from the Royals a few years back, that they won and dismantled, just like the Marlins won and dismantled. You tell me, what for right now, do you get a better feeling? Will they be B or C?
My gut is leaning toward B, just because, and really what will determine them more is what we see this offseason. If they end up giving extension offers to a guy like a Sandy Alcantara or a guy like a Brian Anderson, or even if they decide to keep Starling Marte. If we can see, if they show the effort and the interest and the intrigue of keeping the workhorses, the guys who they know they have to build the base around, and then build around them, take the farm system guys that they know are going to be ready to fill in those final pieces, then I definitely see him as B. If we don't see any of that this offseason, I feel like it's going to revert back to what we've been seeing. They look for that 1 or 2 year window, and then it's going to be starting all over again. They've been talking, just the talk that Derek Jeter has been giving since the beginning is sustainability, make sure that we have enough we have the talent, that they have the talent and the capability of keeping their main guys, which the talk sounds good, but we need to see the action of it, which that action I feel is going to have to come this offseason as they start figuring out to the point of all of your big guys are going into arbitration. Sandy's in arbitration this year. Pablo's in arbitration this year. Anderson goes into year 2 of arbitration. Garrett Cooper goes into arbitration this year. What are they going to do with Jazz in 2 or 3 years when he starts getting a market for the big money? It's what they end up doing with these guys this year and next year are going to be the telling part. The action is going to be a lot more important than what they have been saying these first 3 years.
He is Jordan McPherson. Make sure you follow him. For you Marlins fans out there, he's a must follow at J McPherson 1126. Jordan, as always, man, thank you for taking some time. I appreciate you. Enjoy the baseball this weekend, my friend.
Thanks so much, Big O.
You got it. There you go. The great Jordan McPherson, baby. Love it. Good stuff by him. Appreciate that. And that's really the key. Are they just going to try to catch lightning in a bottle, or be that team B that is going to spend some, keep a couple of players, and then develop, obviously, the others from your minor league system? That's what I'm hoping, because I know they're not going to be team A. They're never going to be the Cubs, and they're not going to spend like the Astros have spent. They're not going to spend like the Dodgers can spend, like it's going out of style. Red Sox, Yankees. Although these Steinbrenners are cheaper than the old man. These Steinbrenners don't have the balls of the old man. These Steinbrenners don't have the passion for baseball like the old man. These young Steinbrenners don't want to win nearly as badly as the old man. Rest in peace, George. I'm not a Yankees fan, but after watching the Suns, it's like, you got to respect what the old man did, because he would do anything it would take in order to win. And the rest of his family just doesn't have that same fire that George had. I'm just saying, it's just one of those deals. At least that's what stands out to me. Moondog Trading, I love you too, my brother. Thank you. And we've been buying the dip, bro. I know that I know crypto's dipping a little bit more right now. I know Bitcoin dipped. It's in the 32s right now. So the way it is, man, that's where we're at right now. We're in those low 30s. That's what they're doing right now. But hey, listen, that allows you to take advantage of the dip and continue. That's what we just were having that conversation in the first hour with John. And Rouse was like, hey, and I know Rouse just purchased all that Ethereum, so he wants it to start going up again, which I don't blame him. You know what I mean? But at the same time, in a selfless way of looking at things, while it stabilizes here and it consolidates, it allows people to get into this dip and take advantage of it now. So when it climbs again, because I truly believe this will be the last time it goes this low. The next time, I think Bitcoin's going to soar, but then when it comes back down again, it might be in the 50s instead. It might be the low part, high 40s or something. You're not going to see the high 20s and the 30s again. So if you have a chance to take advantage of it, I'm not a financial advisor, take advantage. So I'm with Moondog Trading. You got to keep buying the dip, baby. Thomas Flores says, good morning, Big O. Good afternoon to you, Thomas, but thank you for joining us, my brother. I appreciate you. Very kind. Very, very kind. What else do we have here to talk about in the world of sports, or a little? You know what? I can give you a little music talk here. Actually, because we do have a couple. I found a couple of very interesting notes for those of you that may follow a little music. This in today's date. All right. First of all, we'll go to 2009. Michael Jackson, on today's date in 2009, died of a heart attack after being given too much drug, propofol, by his doctor. It's been 12 years that Michael Jackson died. I saw it today and I was like, damn, that's crazy. In 94, Stone Temple Pilots started a 3-week run at #1 on the albums charts with Purple. In 1970, on this date, Hall & Oates recorded together for the first time. And speaking of that, Hall & Oates has announced their tour dates for North America for 2021. And September 22nd, they will be in town at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. So if you're a Hall & Oates fan, you can catch them there September 22nd. In 95, on this date, Pearl Jam canceled their current tour, citing an ongoing war with Ticketmaster. I remember that stuff back in those days. In 1969, on this date, Mick Taylor made his performance debut with the Rolling Stones. Let's see what else. In 1967, on this date, listen to this. This is a crazy ass number. In 67, an estimated 400 to 700 million people around the world watched the Beatles perform Our World, the first live international satellite TV production. The Fab Four were backed by Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Eric Clapton, Graham Nash, Keith Moon, and others during the broadcast. The part I love about it is they put 400 to 700 million. That's like a hell of a window. It's like, holy crap. You can't decide on a number from 400 to 700 million, but even if it's just 400 million in 1967, that's an incredible feat if you're reaching 400 million at that time. It's pretty awesome, I got to say. All right, reach out to us on Twitter, by the way, at Big O Show. Follow us there, as always. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you, as always, for supporting us. Did you see Scottie Pippen? I thought this was interesting because, remember, we talked about the story that Scottie was talking about Kevin Durant and saying that, he's not the kind of team player that LeBron is, and he's got a ways to go, and he had to learn how to use his teammates better and all that. And so Durant ended up going after Scottie, because Durant is one of those guys that he's always on social media. He doesn't let anything lie. He will get in on it. He doesn't if you say something he doesn't like, he's gonna go out there and trash you. So as you know, he says KD is great. Let me make sure I tell you exactly what Scottie said throughout this whole thing. He said, KD, as great as his offense was, it turned out to be his worst enemy because he didn't know how to play team basketball. He kept trying to go punch for punch. And he goes, have you ever seen LeBron take a shot like that? He ain't going to take that shot. He's going to be smarter. He's going to force a double. That's what KD wasn't able to do. KD can score better than LeBron, but has he surpassed LeBron? Nah. He tried to beat Milwaukee instead of utilizing his team. You see what I'm saying? LeBron would have figured out how to beat them and wouldn't have been exhausted. He may not have taken the last shot. LeBron ain't KD, and KD ain't LeBron. So, obviously, Durant saw all that, and then he went back at Scottie and said, didn't the great Scottie Pippen refuse to go in the game for the last second shot because he was in his feelings? His coach drew up the play for a better shooter? Question mark. Loved it. I said it myself when Pippen said this crap. Was it yesterday, the day before here on the show? That's what I mentioned at first with him. Because that's what stands out right away is that, wait a minute, Scottie, dude, you are nobody to be pointing at somebody for not being a team player when Durant played his ass off, dude. Durant's a stud, bro. Durant's awesome. And we played that soundbite for you from Steve Kerr, where Steve Kerr talked about how Durant is more gifted than Jordan. And I agree with Kerr. He is more gifted than Jordan. Not better. He doesn't have the killer instinct that Jordan has. Very few people ever have stuff like that. But gifted, hell yeah, dude. 6'11", can dribble like a guard, has no range whatsoever. I mean, it doesn't matter where he can shoot a 2-footer and he can shoot a 35-footer. The range is not ever a problem for Durant. He can defend, blocks a ton of shots. Guy's awesome, man. But and he's a terrific team player too. He's just so supremely gifted that you want him taking those shots. Or as Nicholson would say, you want him taking those shots. You need him taking those shots. We can do a few good men and talk about Kevin Durant in that rant. Come on. I love that Durant went back at Scottie. I mean, Scottie had the ultimate selfish moment, maybe if not the ultimate, top 3 in the history of the NBA. It's a moment he'll never live down. Anybody that watched his career, that's the one moment that will always leave a sour taste in your mouth that you're like, no, I know you're a great player and you're one of the 50 greatest players and you were awesome. But, dude, that was a punk-ass move on your part because they called the play for Kukoc. Because Phil Jackson did what a coach is supposed to do. He's supposed to look at his team objectively and call the play for the right person. And it was the right person. Kukoc was the better shooter at that moment. For that play, you needed Kukoc. That was the right call. And like Durant says, he was all in his feelings. And I'm not going back in. I mean, are you kidding me, dude? That's a disgusting play on his part. So you are nobody to pick on Durant. And after watching, you watch everything that Durant's gone through, okay? Even from the early part of his career where they had, the loss to the Heat, and they were supremely talented with those 3 guys and Ibaka, okay? OKC had a hell of a team, and then that didn't work out. And then you go to Golden State, and hell, you're the best player on the court. You're the MVP, dude. I mean, give me a break. And then you watch him the other, last week or whatever it was, go out with the Nets, and it's not his fault. Durant was awesome. What are you going to do when Harden is not himself and Kyrie gets injured again? Give me a break, dude. Come on. Let's see. I watched Durant dismantle every single team FIBA 2010. The Russian coach said his entire game plan was to stop Durant, and then he scored 45. Yeah, I mean, Durant's awesome, dude. The great Jerome Brown died on this date too. I remember when that happened. Really, I did not realize that. Man, he was awesome. He was awesome. Rest in peace, Jerome. He was a devastating player. Dolphin since 1987, since Farrell Fawcett died on this date too. Wow. Had that poster. That was a hell of a poster, gotta say. Big O, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Olympic Games? Don't go. They don't have enough people vaccinated, and it's not a good situation. That's what I would say. I don't know what you want me to tell you about the Olympics, really. I don't know what to say. I just, threw that out there. Let's see. I welcome a Florida Panthers fan to jump on the Islanders bandwagon tonight. I'm on there, Mikey. I'm with you. Now, somebody did ask me early in the show who I picked, and I'm picking Tampa Bay if I have to pick, but I'll be rooting for your Islanders. Okay? Because a couple of you, not only you, Mikey, but a couple other folks are Islanders fans, so we will root for the Islanders tonight. It's a hell of a comeback the other night. That's the kind of stuff that emotionally lifts you that you never know. Could help out tonight. Moondog Trading says, could he handle the contract that MJ had back in the day? KD is a better shooter, but they used to pressure the shooters back then and make you drive it to the hoop with contact. Moondog, I think KD can play in any era of basketball. That guy's a player, bro. Guy's a player. Look, I'm taking Michael over everybody. Don't get me wrong here, but KD's freaking stud, bro. He's awesome. Absolutely awesome. JP Trap says, JB, fly, Eagles, fly. All right. I like that. But I did like Durant going after Scotty. I thought that was cool. Did you see that Rick Carlisle got hired again by the Pacers? That's crazy, man. So now I don't know if some of you follow this, but the Pacers, they fired McMillan, and he is now leading the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's 3 wins away from going to the NBA Finals. They fired Frank Vogel, who won the championship last year with the Lakers. And then they fired Rick Carlisle years ago, and he goes to Dallas, and 4 years later, he wins the championship. Safe to say that the Pacers are picking the right coaches, but they're not sticking with the right coaches for very long. And then the best thing that can happen, like the dude, I forgot the dude of the name, the guy that just got fired by the Pacers after being there 1 year. I don't know, but somebody better hire that guy, because the key is getting fired by the Pacers. You get fired by the Pacers, and you will end up in a much better place. I mean, think about it. If Nate McMillan goes on to win the title this year, would have fired 3 coaches who then went on to win a title somewhere else. Maybe the Pacers have kind of figured it out and said, yeah, let's go get Rick Carlisle back. We fired him, and, he's a pretty damn good coach. He might be one of the 3 best coaches in the NBA. In fact, he is one of the 3 best coaches in the NBA. I put him there with Pops, Spo, and Rick Carlisle. To me, those are the 3 best coaches in the NBA. Carlisle's a monster. I don't know what happened in Dallas. Maybe he needed a change of scenery. Maybe, whatever. And now he's in Indiana. But whatever it is. But I just find it funny that the Pacers are constantly firing a guy that goes on to win the title. That is awesome. So the NFL now allows 2 helmets, and throwbacks are here to stay. Tommy and Hialeah. Yeah, but eventually, Tommy, the Dolphins will go back to the old logo. They will. They will go back to the old. They'll add a twist to it, but they will go back to the old logo. And then and with the twist, they can still then throw the original throwback in there at the same time. What's crazy is Billy Martin was fired by the Yankees like 5 times under George Stein. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was always interesting watching the love-hate relationship between Billy Martin and George Steinbrenner, you know? But I will say this, I'm not a Yankees fan, don't give a crap about the Yankees, don't root for them in any way, shape, or form, none of that stuff. But after watching the old man for decades and now watching, the sons take over in the family, there is an enormous difference between the old man and what's running the Yankees now. I would imagine, forget me, okay? I'm sure there's a couple of Yankees fans watching, listening, downloading, whatever. I bet those are the people that really regret and they miss George Steinbrenner in a big time way. Put it this way. I'll put it this way. The Yankees would have more than the one title they have under the current Steinbrenners if George was around. That's all I'll say. I don't know how many more. 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 4 more. I don't know, but they would. Because George would have done something about it. You know what I mean? The people that took over for George, his sons and everybody else, they're not driven mad by winning like that guy was. So I would imagine if you're a Yankees fan, God, you got to miss George Steinbrenner. The best feelings as when the Marlins shut down the Yankees in Game 6 of the World Series to win the World Championship. I'm with you there. That was the 2003 championship was incredibly sweet because you beat down the Yankees. Yes, 97 was awesome, but 97 wasn't a surprise. That was a team that was built to win a championship. You know what I mean? We weren't surprised with them. 2003, everything was, from May on, everything was a surprise. The Dontrelle Willis run, the Miguel Cabrera, ascension and an elevation to the majors was like this second coming of Marino in baseball. That's kind of what Cabrera was. He was the Marino of baseball, that kind of stuff. It was just one of those magical things, and everything fell into place. And, not that I look at the manager in 2003 and put him in the same category with the guy from 97. It's 2003, there was a lot of magic. The Bartman stuff, Jose Cruz, there were so many things that went on during that run and everything else that it was like it was meant to be that year. That's the only way to freaking look at it. It was like meant to be, because how is it that you fire your manager and put in a new manager and then you call up these two kids who completely changed the complexion of your entire season? And all of a sudden that pitcher that you call up, it becomes an attendance boom to your team. Every time Dontrelle Willis pitched, the place was packed. We never treated Levon like that. Nobody like that. When Orestes Estrada was brought on with the expansion, remember all that thinking, hey, we'll add Cuban players and we'll pack the place. No, you won't. It's the Cubans here and the Puerto Ricans and the Venezuelans and everybody else. And whether you're Haitian or Jamaican or whatever, you get Americanized when you get here. We become Americans. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And you're going to show up when you have to show up, and you'll show up fashionably late in Miami like you will in LA, and you're going to follow, when you're good, and you're not going to follow when you're not. I mean, that nationalities have nothing to do with it. Dontrelle Willis was magical. Dontrelle Willis was electric. Dontrelle Willis was personable. Dontrelle Willis was likable. That's why you ended up drawing like you never drew for any Latin player. Because it has nothing to do with the nationality of the person. And that was the dumbest, That's the dumbest way of thinking that you can market teams in this town. Oh, yeah, we'll bring on a Haitian player. We'll get all the Haitians to come. No, they won't. No, they won't. No, the Haitian player or the Cuban player or the Asian player is absolutely freaking kicking ass and is a superstar stud and is magical and electric and all that, then yeah, everybody's going to come. Not just a nationality for that one player. You know? So 2003, it just seemed like everything fell into place that year. You name it, whatever break in the book could exist. Kevin Gregg with a strikeout zone that was bigger than his ass. And rest in peace, Kevin Gregg. But that umpire was he was a wide body, and his strike zone was even wider for Levon. I mean, it just anything and everything that could possibly go your way went your way in 2003. I mean, hell, they were the hottest team from May on. They had the best record in the majors from May on. It was a run like I don't think we'll ever see again in 2003. Josh Beckett was a beast pitching that night. Well, that series. Remember, he had a couple of outings and also as a reliever. Let's see. Troy Ortiz, one of George's sons has passed. Yes, I know. I think it was Hank, I want to say, is the one that passed away. And I believe that the one that passed away was the one that had the most passion. That was the one that was closest to nobody's George Steinbrenner. But out of all the people left in his family, I believe it was Hank Steinbrenner, the one that passed away, if I'm correct. And I believe he's the one that was a little bit more driven to win than all the others. And the rest, including the daughter, I think they count the money. That kind of stuff. It's a shame. It's a shame. Let's see. What else do we have here? That was Miguel Cabrera's rookie season. Yes, it was. Ivan Rodriguez getting run over the plate against the Giants and holding on to the ball. Yeah. There were more likable team as well, too. Dontrell Pudge, Jack. Yes. Yep. The senile manager, Jack McKeon. Oh man. But yeah, I remember that. You're right, and that was a likable team. Although I thought 97 had some likable dudes too, So yeah, it kind of goes both ways. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, Juan Pierre was another one in 2003, very likable. Yeah. I'm with you there. That makes sense. All right, you can reach out to us on the YouTube channel if you got a question, on the Super Chat, and also on Twitter at Big O Show. Many ways to reach out to us here on the program. What else do we have here? Cavs are trying to trade Colin Sexton. Apparently, there's he's kind of you got to baby him a little bit or something along those lines. They're saying in Cleveland. I don't know what happens there, but the kid has improved every year his numbers. So somebody's going to add him, and considering that Cleveland isn't the best situation out there, somebody's going to add him and think, you know what, we can add this kid and he can bring something to the table that we don't have. And if it's a better, environment, maybe, the kid can grow up and actually do better there when it's all said and done. Let's see. I am reading a story here. It says 65% of NFL players have received at least one COVID-19 vaccine shot. Okay. Still don't understand why it wouldn't be 100, but outside of one person having medical issues, that one I never understand. All right, what else do we have here going on? Oh, by the way, the Mavs now are talking with Jason Kidd for a contract, because I was talking about the Rick Carlisle thing, signing with Indiana. Now Jason Kidd is in talks with the Mavs to become their coach. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if it has happened. Maybe it has, and I don't know yet. Since I've been on the air for a couple of hours, no, I have not seen it right now. But Kidd is in the middle of talking with them. Hey, one more thing. Can I mention something that is, I think, going to piss off some people? And I don't mean that I want them to do this, or it might frustrate some of you guys, might piss you off, might say, why are you talking about this? You know, that kind of stuff. Riley has made a living off of acquiring disgruntled stars or stars that find themselves in difficult situations. I'm not a Ben Simmons guy, okay? But I will say this. Ben Simmons needs the heat. Yeah. Because Ben Simmons, because the Heat have been known to help Ike Austin lose an entire human being in weight and go out to become a productive player, get a big contract. I saw people like Eric Murdoch, Keon Dooling turn their careers around here. I watched Udonis Haslem as an overweight kid in college, undrafted, come to Miami and become a franchise player for them, and will have his number retired in the rafters. I've watched Tim Hardaway play more defense than he ever played in Golden State and take charges like he never did at Golden State. I watched Chris Bosh develop a three-pointer. I watched them make LeBron James more of a post player and make him a better player, more all-around player, and help him cross the threshold that we talked about, which was Game 6 against the Celtics, which he was a different player after that. For the remainder of his career until this day, he has been a different player. My point is, I have watched player after player after player get better here. I watched Dwayne Wade improve his shot here. This, when it comes to player development, there are very few, if any, better than the Miami Heat in the NBA. Okay? If Miami isn't number one over the last 25 years, they're number two. You got me? They're number two. I'm not saying everybody develops, but Whiteside did play his best basketball, his bum-ass self, never played like that again on any other team. I just want to say that. I'm not a Whiteside fan, but his best basketball was played here. Not in Portland, not in Sacramento, not anywhere. Not at the YMCA, not overseas, nothing. So I've watched player after player after player get better. I'm not saying trade for him. I'm not saying I want Ben Simmons on the Miami Heat squad. But I am saying this. There aren't a lot of places to trade Ben Simmons where you're going to end up with the same Ben Simmons, correct? All I'm saying is there's a chance. Again, not 100%, because the Heat haven't been able to improve every single player that comes through. Every single player doesn't become better. Every single player doesn't become great and all that. There have been some guys that they can't reach and they couldn't, turn their careers around, and so be it. But Miami is the best place, I think, in the NBA to get the most out of Ben Simmons. Would any of you disagree with that? Would you? I'm not saying I want him. I'm not saying to trade for him. I'm just saying when it comes to player development, which Lord knows he needs it. When it comes to confidence development, which Lord knows he needs it. I think this is the best franchise for him. I don't know. You guys tell me. on that. But I've got history on my side. You know what I mean? So I was thinking about that yesterday. I was going because they were talking about best destinations for Ben Simmons. Miami was not on their list. They mentioned a couple of teams, and I'm sitting back and I'm going, the Heat would make him a better player. I don't know if they'll make him a three-point shooter, but he'll start shooting free throws and he'll make a mid-range jumper and he'll be a little bit more confident player here in Miami than he is in Philadelphia. And I know you got Jimmy Butler here. He's probably not even a Ben Simmons fan. Again, I'm not telling you they should trade for him. I'm not telling you I want him. None of that. I'm just saying when it comes to player development, I don't think there's anybody better than the Miami Heat. And if I'm Ben Simmons, I'm begging the Heat to trade for me. I'm begging to go to Miami. That's all. I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that's the panacea for Simmons. That's the cure, man. That's the one right there. How about the closer Urbina? Once we picked him up, it seems we can't fire. I mentioned Urbina. What's it called? 6-time Pro Bowl. David DeCastro was released by the Steelers. Yeah, and they signed Trey Turner right away. Apparently, he's got bone spurs in his ankle, and so he needs surgery. And he's up there in years. I hope you're not saying because you want the Dolphins to sign him. I'm totally against taking the NFL Combine out of Indianapolis. We do the Combine better than anyone else could. Dallas and Jerry Jones can suck it. Charles, it's not about doing – you are right. It's a perfect place for the Combine. Everything is centralized right there in downtown. Everything is connected. I love it there, except for the damn cold weather. It's a pain in the ass. But it's about money, baby. And so the NFL now knows they can sell this thing and make it an event and take it all across the country and make more money. And that's what they're doing, my man. That's all. So this is the inevitable. It's all about greed, baby. I'd take Ronnie Cycli over Simmons. I agree. And Ronnie Cycli became a better player here too. Not under this regime, but he worked hard to become a better player every year, man. I still to this day admire the crap out of Ronnie Cycli. I really do. I like Ronnie Cycli. Ronnie Cycli will always have a special place in my heart, not because he was the first draft pick and all of that. It's because the dude did it the right way, man. He worked hard, bro. He worked hard. He hustled. There was never a night you said Ronnie Cycli was slacking. His effort was always, and he was a mechanical guy. He didn't play like Olajuwon. There's a flow to his game. Bill Walton, there was a flow to his game. There was beauty to his game. He and Zoe was also a kind of a mechanical guy. So they had to kind of work harder to become more effective than a Pat Ewing. Pat Ewing, it came natural to him, Yeah, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. There are some guys that have to work a little harder in order to be effective, and guys like Cycli had to work a little harder. Guys like Alonzo Mourning had to work a little harder because the fluidity in their game wasn't there. I admire Ronnie Cycli a lot. But how would Simmons and Butler coexist? Matt, dude, you took it a step too far. I don't want Simmons on the roster. I know Butler and Simmons can't coexist. All I'm saying is that Simmons needs the Miami Heat more than any other franchise in the NBA. That's all I'm saying. I don't want him here. I don't want them to trade for him. I don't want to deal with the chance that he will not develop and get better, all that. All I'm saying is that the Heat is the franchise that he needs to develop him. That's it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Nothing else. I don't want him here. Compartmentalize the two, okay? Don't want to trade him. Don't want to see him here. Nothing. Especially when I hear that he's not a worker. That's crazy. That's probably why Jimmy doesn't like him, because he doesn't work hard enough. It's clear when you have no confidence taking a shot, that's because you haven't sat in the gym to take thousands of shots. That's your problem. Who would you give for Ben? I'm not giving anybody for Ben. Some of you guys are still not understanding this. My point is just as a teaching thing. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I don't want him here at all. No, I agree the Heat is a great organization, develop players, but that's with Riles. I don't know about Eric Spoelstra. I mean, Eric Spoelstra. Why does my watch pick up crap? Eric Spoelstra is the guy that improved Wade's shot, dude. Come on. Let's see. I agree with you. His post game would improve. I think a mid-range would improve. I think his free throw shooting would improve. I really do. Again, don't want him here at all. I'm just saying the Heat is the team that he needs more than anything else. Orlando and Ronnie is a world-known DJ. Yes, I know. Ronnie's got money. His family has money. And that's the other thing that was amazing about cycling. He didn't need the money. He was going to live a great life. He didn't need to become a great DJ and get paid all over the world for doing the gigs. He doesn't need the money that he made as an NBA center. His family already had money. And yet he worked like a guy that didn't have any money. He worked like a guy that had to earn everything that he got. That's why I'm telling you that I'm a huge Ronnie Cycli admirer. Love Ronnie Cycli, man, because he did it the right way. You know? So, you're saying you definitely want the Heat to trade for him then. Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate the laugh, my brother. All right, I am done here today on the show. We went almost 2.5 hours today on the show. Not too bad. I figured we had a little bit of funkiness at the beginning, and then we figured it all out. So I figured we would, fix that and end the broadcast here. Appreciate all. Dub fan since 1987 says, no Simmons, please. Again, I'm with you. I don't want Simmons. It's just I find it funny that he really needs the Heat more than anything else. Okay. What's your take on Rick Carlisle? I already said it. I already talked about that. You must have just missed it. I just talked about the whole Rick Carlisle thing. We thank Weapons X United for giving us a little love on the super chat. Don't forget, folks, to smash the hell out of that like button before you turn it off. We need it. Share, of course, if you're listening to the podcast, smash the like button, share, all of that. Really appreciate all of you out there. As always, you guys are awesome. Have a fantastic weekend. We will catch you on Monday right here on the program. Be good out there.